good afternoon. And live from the County of Los Angeles in the state of California, I'm Raphi Rebucas. I'm the president of the Young Leaders Political Action Committee Board of Governors, and I have the honor and privilege of representing more than 2.1 million high school and junior high school students right here in this great state. As we speak, there are only 25 days until the United States general presidential election, where millions of voters will vote on who should serve as their commander-in-chief, among other very important offices. It's also worth mentioning that as we speak, more than 6 million Americans have already cast their ballots via mail. Now, so many issues are at stake on the ballot, and so many of these issues affect young people in the best and worst kinds of ways. This includes healthcare, education, criminal justice reform, and so many more issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis. I'm pleased to serve as the president of this board, and I'm also just as honored that this board selected me to be their moderator for today. I pledge to be a fair, honest, and open-minded moderator. However, that does not mean I will not ask tough questions. I will make sure to do justice to every side of the political spectrum and ask my fair share of tough questions. Now, let's begin the setup of this debate. Each of the participants have agreed to the rules that have been enacted by the members of the Board of Governors. Each debate team will be representing one candidate for the presidency and also one vice presidential candidate. Each team is comprised of 2 members, sitting members, of the Young Leaders PAC Board of Governors and one special guest speaker who has been nominated by the Democratic and Republican caucuses, respectively. Now, let's begin our debate. Representing the re-election of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Michael R. Pence is the Republican caucus of the Board of Governors, Governor Alexandra E. Short and Governor Jacob D. Malo. They have selected Dylan Del Rosario, a sophomore from Redondo Union High School, to serve as their guest speaker, student guest speaker, and aid to the panel discussion. And on the Democratic caucus, Governor Devin Nguyen and Governor Sage Silberman will be representing and defending the candidacy of Joseph R. Biden Jr. for President of the United States and Kamala D. Harris for Vice President of the United States. They have selected Lucas W. Robertson. He's a sophomore from Bishop Montgomery High School, and he's also a tennis player, to aid in their discussion and panel with regards to this upcoming presidential election. It is a privilege to see each and every one of you here, and I thank you for being here on this wonderful day. As we speak, COVID-19 is rampant across our community. So much so that the President of the United States and the First Lady of the United States have contracted the virus. We send our prayers to them and wish them a speedy and quick recovery so that they can continue to lead this country through these tumultuous times. Dylan, my first question goes to you. Earlier this week, Senator Kamala D. Harris from California said that the president's administration has created the biggest failure in American history. Do you agree with this sentiment? And how do you feel about the President of the United States' response to the COVID-19 pandemic? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
All right. I think that the administration did a pretty decent job with handling it because it's not like there's that much that you can do with a new virus that comes out that nobody really knows about. And for example, they awarded $10 million to Copen Industries, Inc. to expand the domestic production of the Fox swabs to 14.4 million a month, which is pretty good for a new virus, like I said, that they don't know about. And I feel like they did a pretty good job, and I will stand by that idea.
And Lucas, the same question goes to you. Do you agree with the senator's sentiment with regards to the handling of COVID-19 by the Trump administration? You also have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yes, I agree with her completely. As president, he's supposed to protect everyone in our country, and he didn't do so. More than 213,000 Americans have died, and like Dylan said about the uncertainty of the virus and the unknown of it, I think he could handle it in a way where he listened to advisors, health officials, and he took, a step back and really was cautious of how he proceeded with, his handlings and actions that he did. And, people have died because of it. And yeah.
Thank you, Lucas. Also at the vice presidential debate, Vice President Michael R. Pence accused the Biden-Harris campaign of plagiarism because their COVID-19 response agenda has already been enforced by the Trump-Pence administration. My question goes to Governor Nguyen. As Assistant President, I want to ask you, what is different in Joe Biden and Kamala D. Harris's plan that President Trump has failed to do and will not do in a second term?
I would like to start off by stating that during the past few months, it has been a very dark time for our history, and the SARS-CoV-19 pandemic has swept our country into a pandemic unseen. And President Donald J. Trump has, I believe, inappropriately responded to this virus in such ways, ignoring health officials, refusal to wear a mask. I believe that in terms of plan, compared to Joseph R. Biden and Donald J. Trump, Joseph R. Biden has a very complicated, sophisticated plan, which I think will work extremely well in terms of reopening the economy. He wants to make sure that employers include rearranging the work arrangements of employees who are at extreme high risk. He will make sure that if workers go sick, they will still remain on pay, and therefore to eliminate the fear of coronavirus cutting out their payroll of those certain individuals. And not only that, but he will also ensure that he listens to advisories of health officials, and I believe that he understands the significance of this virus. In terms of plagiarism to Donald J. Trump's plan, I haven't seen any remarks on Donald J. Trump's plan, and in terms of sophistication, I believe that if Donald J. Trump has been using the same points as Joseph R. Biden, it is apparently not working due to the death of 213,000 Americans. All right, my time.
Thank you, Governor Nguyen, for enlightening us on that. I think we can all agree it is very much time to make sure that we can reopen our economy, but we must do it safely. The Trump campaign wants to reopen schools. They want to rebuild our economy. However, the Biden campaign says they want to keep America closed. They want to have mandatory mask mandates just to make sure we keep people safe. My question goes to Governor Mallow. Who's right in this argument? The Biden campaign or the Trump campaign?
Personally, I believe that schools should be reopened, and safely, obviously, and in a timely manner. But I think that they should, because during this time as they're being closed and online learning has been taking place, suicide and depression rates have both gone up. Both are terrible things. And online learning has caused students' grades to go down because they're not in the same environment, and they're not used to it. So it's hard, and I can attest to that. And for the mask wearing, I think that maybe it shouldn't be mandatory like a law. It should just be be mindful of their own conditions.
Thank you, Governor Mallow. Actually, quite coincidentally, I know Governor Silberman wants to respond to this, and my next question actually goes to Governor Silberman, and it's along the same line, so I'll give you time to respond as well as answer this question. Who's right, Biden or Trump, and why shouldn't we reopen schools given the fact that so many people are losing their lives because they're abusing alcohol and drugs, just as Governor Mallow had said? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I believe that Joe Biden is right in this sense, because he believes that the decision about when to reopen schools safely should be made by the state, tribal, and local officials based on science in consolidation with communities and tribal governments. It should be made with safety of student and educators in mind, and it should be made by recognizing that if we do this wrong, we will put lives at risk and set our economy and our country back. In regards to the economy, Biden has said repeatedly that he would only close down the economy if it was under the advice of our scientists and medical professionals that it's unsafe to go out and, and then he's also said that he would require employers to tailor work arrangements for anyone who is of high risk, who is a high risk group. Back to mental health for schools, regarding schools, Trump has shown his lack of support for mental health. Last year, for example, he reduced the budget, which was the request was for $68.4 billion for the Department of Health and Human Services, which is 21% decrease from the 2017 enacted level.
Thank you, Governor. I wanted to ask Governor Short a question, and it's just the same one as I had given to Governor Wynne, which is simply, what is different between the plan that President Trump provides for getting through COVID-19 that Joe Biden does not?
Yeah, so Trump actually allows the American people to decide what is best for them rather than force government mandate lockdowns. And lockdowns have increased suicide rates, depression rates, anxiety, and other mental health disorder. And as Jacob said. And so Trump is actually allowing people to choose what's best for them. If they have diabetes or are obese or some other factor that makes them more susceptible to dying from COVID, they get to choose whether or not they go out, rather than, as Biden says, he'll possibly enforce a mandated lockdown, which will increase suicide rates, etc. And also, I'd like to say that Trump blocked travel from China on January 31st, and at the time, Joe Biden called him xenophobic. But yet, experts have said that this lockdown or blocked travel from China has saved thousands of lives.
And Governor Wynne, I'll allow you a 30-second response.
Tell me, Governor Short, do you prefer the advice of a group of uneducated people who do not have degrees in the medical field, or do you prefer the advice of medical officials and state officials who is their job to decide whether the economy should be shut down or opened up again? And in terms of the travel mandate, by the time Trump issued the travel bans, it was far too late, for he had already denied and still is in the refusal of wearing masks and listening to the advisories of his health officials. So I believe that as much as you want to brag that he's shut down travel, it was still too late before any effect could take place.
Governor Wynne, thank you for your response. Governor Short, Governor Wynne had used your name in his response. I'll give you 30 seconds to quickly respond to Governor Wynne's claims with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, so for a virus that has a 3 to 4% mortality rate, is that really worth locking down the entire country and forcing Americans to lose a lot of jobs and possibly could even die from starvation or not being able to pay their rent because they lost their job due to the COVID lockdown? So you tell me what is more important, a 3 to 4% mortality rate of a virus locking down an entire country, or someone losing their life due to suicide or starvation?
Are you a medical official, though?
Governor Wynne.
No, I was.
Thank you, governors. I want to move on to law and order. I think this is very important. It's a very important issue to the people we represent as Board of Governors, and also I would imagine to Mr. Robertson and Ms. Del Rosario. Vice President Biden refused to say the words law and order alone at the first presidential debate, which struck a chord with so many Republicans and even Democratic suburban families. My question goes to Governor Wynne, and it's this. Is law and order a necessary aspect of a functioning society?
Is my time start now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I do want to quote that Joe Biden actually did refer to the terms law and order, and he did condemn the violent acts of protesting. This is a quote from Joe Biden, a quote May 27th, I believe, of 2020. Joe Biden, quote, "Rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. Setting fires is not protesting. None of this is protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple." Here's another quote from, I think, 2 weeks after that. He said, "Protesting such brutality is right and necessary. It's utterly American response. But burning down communities and needless destruction is not. Violence that endangers lives is not." Joe Biden clearly condemns the acts of these violent protests, nor does he stand for it. So I don't understand why the question is being pointed at Joe Biden for not condemning these violent acts committed by these protesters and rioters. On top of that, as well, 93% of the protests executed were peaceful. Only 7% of those resulted in violent, and most of those were only, I think it was about few in one city, one in Washington, one's in Minneapolis, of course. 93% of them were peaceful. Why is it that the picture and the blame is being pointed towards the violent protests when obviously the mass majority of protesters in the act are peaceful?
Governor Nguyen, your time is up. Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify my question. I had asked with regards to law and order alone. In the first presidential debate, the vice president said law and order and justice and did not give a direct response to the president. But I just have to ask you, you say with regards to you saying 7% of protests are violent, well, 7% of planes on 9/11 were unsuccessful. So my question to that is has absolutely nothing to do with riots. It's just this: do you believe law and order is a necessary part of a functioning society? You have 30 seconds.
Yes, of course I believe law and order is a necessary part of functioning society. And the candidate I support, Joe Biden, believes in that as well, for he has said that this is straight out violence. This is violence, lawlessness, plain and simple. He doesn't believe in a lawless order society. I don't understand why that's a point of question in this debate.
All right, Governor Short, I want to ask you if first of all, would you like to respond to the claims with regards to the ones that Governor Nguyen had made? I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds, but I'll also add on an additional question to your response, which is, what does the term law and order mean to young people across the state, and what has President Trump done to help move forward with that? It is his phrase, it is one of his campaign slogans. What has he done with regards to ensuring quote unquote law and order? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, first, my response to Governor Nguyen. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have very, you can tell that they're not answering the question about law and order. And part of their, the senators and House of Representatives, such as AOC, have wanted to defund the police, and also have, they have said that the riots, which are clearly riots, not just peaceful protesters, where they're tearing down small businesses, they are just peaceful protests and they should be allowed, which they should not. Second of all, President Trump, he has signed an executive order on June 16, 2020 for reform on training for police, which is making it better because following the police misconduct, this rejects requests for defunding of police, as his campaign says, and bans the use of police chokeholds, which is a result from pressure after George Floyd's death. He has fought to implement the First Step Act, which is the largest criminal justice reform project in recent history, and he has committed to backing the blue.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Short. I will allow Governor Nguyen to have a 30-second response to that.
First of all, I just said no one said they ever weren't riots. Like, we admitted to them being riots, and it's an outblind fact that they are violent riots, and no one is not condemning them either. Sorry. And second of all, I wanted to talk about your point on defunding the police. I believe that if anyone is in pro the increase of crime, it's Trump. In February of 2020, he just released his budget, which would essentially deduct 515 million, mathematically done through congressional agreements. It's $400 million away from his budget, which would go to 75 law enforcement programs. So I don't understand why defunding the police is coming from your side.
Governor Wynne, thank you for your response. I just want to move forward with regards to this, if that's all right with you guys. My next question goes to Dylan. Dylan, there's been a lot of talk about the president's performance in the first presidential debate. People are accusing him of sort of dancing around the question of whether or not we should condemn white supremacists. And he said, stand back and stand by. So I just want to ask you, are you willing to condemn neo-Nazi and white supremacist hate groups today on behalf of the supporters of the President of the United States?
No, I'm not going to say that, because he has provided many jobs for Black people, more than anybody else in the past presidents have, and he is not a white supremacist or should not be condemned as one, because he, like I said, has done a lot more, and he doesn't just do stuff for people that are white. He does stuff for people of color, for indigenous people, for people from basically everywhere that live in America, and he does not really show that, in my opinion, because of the people probably just think he is because he says he's a Republican and because of maybe statements he said all the way in the past, but he should, every president says stuff in the past that does not add up to what they said today or have done today, so that's why I believe he should not be.
Thank you, Dylan. And Lucas, I want to ask you a question, because while Democrats continue to talk about how President Trump did not condemn white supremacy, or dodged, kind of danced around the question, so to speak, at the previous presidential debate, Joe Biden actually refused to condemn Antifa, saying it's, quote, just an idea. My question to you, Lucas, is what do you have to say, what message, and if you could speak directly right now to the people, small business owners who have lost their livelihoods because they've been burned to the ground due to the radical Antifa and Black Lives Matter demonstrations. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So to the small businesses affected by, protesting and stuff like that, I guess in the sense that, like we talked about already, they're not all necessarily bad. And you have to think about the urban movement. Okay, yes, looting and stuff is bad. We all can agree that both parties can agree on that. That's something that should not be happening, correct? But the thing is, it's a movement. In past, things, there's obviously damage left behind, and the administration should, there's insurance and stuff like that. And I have really no way to directly really tell you that it's like good, like, just let them keep, looting you and stuff like that. But I know this question is kind of a little bit hard, to be honest. But you kind of just have to, it's like you have to be on, I guess, think about situational and history. Can I switch it over to Devin?
Right. I'm actually, Governor Short had requested to respond first, so I'll give Governor Short 30 seconds, and then I'll follow that up with Governor Wynne with 30 seconds, and then I will move on to the next question. Governor Short, you have 30 seconds.
President Trump has denounced white supremacy numerous times. Here's a direct quote. "I disavowed him. I disavowed the KKK. Do you want me to do it again for the 12th time? I disavowed him in the past, and I disavow him now." And he said, "I disavowed David Duke. I totally disavow the KKK." So I don't really know where you're saying he's never disavowed white supremacists. And also Biden has said, "Well, I tell you what, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't Black." And I'd call that racist.
Governor Wynne, you have 30 seconds.
I just want to hit off of, on Trump's racist quotes. So that, therefore, the quote you just stated totally disregards the August 15, 2017 response to Charlottesville, where you had some very fine people on both sides comment. And also, I just a thinking point that I had out there, when you spend more time condemning some football players who are peacefully protesting than you do, dare I even say, condemning the violent and extreme acts of white supremacists and neo-Nazis right in Washington, what does that say about our president? Just thinking point.
Thank you, Governor Wynn. And Governor Silberman, I'll give you 30 seconds. Please make a quick response.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out that in the presidential debate this year, he refused, in a sense, to condemn white supremacy, to say he condemns white supremacy by saying, by telling, quote, "Proud Boys stand back and stand by." So that his lack of willingness to condemn white supremacy right there in front of everyone in the presidential debates shows that.
Governor Silberman, with a yes or no question, do you consider Proud Boys a white supremacy group?
I think that's who he was referring to, yes.
Let the record show that Governor Silberman considers Proud Boys as a white supremacy group. I'll move on to the next question. And this is open to anyone who would like to answer this question. And it's, how will minorities feel safer under a Biden-Harris administration, and what will Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do differently for BIPOC communities that the Trump administration has not? Would you like to? You have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
I just like to. Oh, I'm just going. No, it's fine. I just like to respond on the GOP tax cuts, because that's my most passionate issue about Joe Biden getting back into office. In 2017, Donald Trump cut down the taxes, apparently cut down the taxes using the GOP tax cut, which was supposed to initially cut down middle class families from paying $1,000 less in taxes. And he also capped the tax amount to that 37% for the top 1% earners. Capped, might I note, cap it. If you make $500,000 or more, there's a 37% cap. This tax bill does not benefit middle class families, nor does it cut as many tax-paying dollars as it could have been, because he is afraid and he refuses to outboundly call out the top 1% earners and tax them what they should be getting taxed. The tax caps them at 37%. Overall, this GOP tax cut only benefits the top 1% of wealth earners, and when that $2 million deficit is being filled in by the hard-earned money of working middle-class families.
Thank you, Governor Wynn. I'm sorry, Governor Short, I want to move forward with the discussion, but I would like to ask, and this question goes directly to Governor Malo. Governor Malo, you made history earlier this year for being the youngest Latino to ever serve as a member of a political action committee board of governors in United States history. Given the atrocious record that the president has of referring to African American and Latinos disparagingly, how can this community continue to support your candidate? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you. Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. President Trump, I'm not prepared enough. That's on my part. Can I switch a question or something? Because I'm not honestly prepared.
No worries. I'll actually give that question to Governor Short, and I'll give you 1 minute, 30 seconds so you can also respond and answer this question. Why should underprivileged communities and also minorities trust a president who has referred to them disparagingly on numerous occasions?
Yeah, so Hispanic, Asian, and African American unemployment rates have hit record lows under Trump's administration. And also Hispanics and other minorities account for a lot of the middle class. And actually, tax relief, there's been 82% tax relief for middle class families, as well as he has doubled the child tax credit, which has given $1,000 per child in tax relief for parents. He has cut taxes by 20% for small businesses and has provided $415 billion in tax relief for small business owners, and many minorities own small businesses.
Thank you, Governor Short. My next question is actually going to Governor Silberman. Governor Silberman, just as Governor Malo did, you also made history this year in our organization for being the first female to serve as the senior-most member in the Board of Governors. Given that Vice President Biden has 8 pending and credible sexual assault allegations and over a dozen videos where he grabs little children inappropriately and vigorously sniffs the hair of underage girls, do you believe this alarming behavior will have an effect on his policy decisions regarding women and children?
I definitely condemn what he's done to little girls and the sex allegations. Sorry, what were they? I'm thinking of
allegations. Yeah, no worries.
Allegations. Okay. Sorry. It's loud. But sexual assault allegations. I definitely condemn them. However, can I just wait till that's done? Thanks. Sorry. Close my window.
And I will go to Governor. I'll go to Governor Wynn with regards to with the same question that I had asked Governor Silberman. Do you in any way have a concern with regards to the Vice President's attitude toward women and children and what that may have and the effect that may have on his policy decisions? You have 1 minute.
No, I do not believe that that will have an effect in any way on Joe Biden's policy decision-making. Recently, actually just this week, Anita Hill, the victim who accused Supreme Court senator of rape back in the 70s, who was grilled by Joe Biden in the court hearing, just recently came out in support of Joe Biden's campaign, claiming that she believes that Joe Biden has changed morale and changed character and changed in person. Due to the fact that a rape victim who Joe Biden directly attacked back in the 70s has came out and said herself that she believes that Joe Biden has changed his morals and she believes that he is the best option for President of the United States in comparison to Donald Trump. I do believe that Joe Biden's policy and decision making will not be affected due to his past, in which I do not condemn, of course.
All right. Governor Silberman, I'll give you 1 minute since Governor Wynn also had a minute, and then I'll give Governor Short 30 seconds. But Governor Silberman, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As I was saying before, sorry, I do condemn what he's done. However, I do think that in regard, because you have the option between him and Trump, along with other ones, but the main ones, for presidency, Trump has had a ton more sexual assault allegations towards him, and I think if you in regards to the wait, sorry, what was the beginning part or the end part of the question?
Do you think that his alarming behavior toward women and children will have effect on his policy?
I don't think it'll have an effect, I don't think it'll have an effect on his policy because he has passed, for example, when he was vice president with Obama, he passed a, sorry, I'm trying to find it. He was part of the, he worked alongside Obama to create a task force to protect students specifically from sexual assault. So I don't think it will affect his.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Silberman. And Governor Short, I'll give you 30 seconds.
So I'd like to say that you said that Trump has a ton more sexual assault, whatever the word is, allegations. But yet you just said that Joe Biden's policies haven't reflected that. So haven't Trump's not reflected that either? Also, Kamala Harris, she said she believes all women, yet when Tara Reade accused Joe Biden of sexual assault, she said she believed Biden. So who does she really believe?
I think, Governor, thank you. I think that's a great segue into my next question, which is actually to Governor Wynn. Governor Wynn, in a short response, I'll give you 30 seconds. You commented briefly on the Anita Hill endorsement of Vice President Biden. Do you believe the allegations that have been made by former Joe Biden Senate staffer Tara Reade?
On Tara Reid, do I believe the allegations?
Mhm.
I personally don't have. Can I not claim a stance? It's just one of the topics that I don't have a stance on, and I don't because of the time amount of evidence and enough. I don't have a particular stance yet. I like to respect both sides. I do think, though, that Joe Biden, like I said before, Joe Biden has changed in his morale, affecting his ability to lead and keep his promises up, proved by Anita Hill, who was attacked by him.
Thank you. And finally, I want to move on to the next topic, which is regarding education. This question first goes to Governor Short, and it's, Governor Short, how does the Trump plan on education differ from that of Joe Biden? And what policy decisions has President Trump already made with regards to education that improves the school life of the Californians and overall the Americans that we represent? Governor Short, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So first off, President Trump wants schools to reopen safely, which with the schools closed, as I've said earlier, depression has increased and suicides have increased. And so once again, the 3 to 4% mortality rate for COVID, is that really worth homeschooling kids who could possibly kill themselves or develop depression? And also, he prioritizes school choice, and he believes, and I quote, "A child's zip code in America should never determine their future," end quote. He allows families to choose where they want their children to attend school. And as I've seen many graphics on Instagram, actually, that say that systemic racism accounts for people not getting a good enough education because of their zip code, well, he's actually prioritizing school choice, which will eliminate that problem. He also supports historically Black colleges and universities, and he has increased federal funding by more than 14%.
Thank you, Governor Short. My next question goes to Governor Nguyen. I'll let you respond to that. I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'll let you respond to what Governor Short had said, but I also wanted to ask you, and with a follow-up question to what Governor Short has said, which is, why are so many Democrats who also support Vice President Biden so vehemently opposed to the idea of school choice that has been proposed by President Trump? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
The idea of school choice, I don't disagree with. I think that school choice is a great idea, and it's a great organization of allowing parents and students to choose which school they go to. The problem is that schools still, in the end game, still have the right to choose who to let move in and out throughout different schools. The way it works is that you're able to apply for any school outside of your zip code, but in order to do so, you must first remove from your home school. If your home school does not allow you to move out of there, then you will be trapped in a school that would your parents deem or you deem that wouldn't be the best fit career path for you. I've done it myself, and it's taken a lot of hard work. I've only been able to get out of my homeschool because my mother has connections, because my mother is an educator and has connections with the principal. That's a very sad truth, that's the only reason that I've been able to go to the school that I choose to go to, rather than Gardena High or Perry or any of those other schools. School choice, and then I wanted to respond on, wait, was that your, what else? I'm sorry.
I just, with regards to how does Trump's plan differ from Biden's plan on education? You have 30 seconds.
On education. Okay, yeah, sorry. Thank you. And then in terms of education, both Biden and Trump do believe in, Biden even put this on his website too. He has practically the same quote, ensure that no child's future is determined by their zip code. And Biden also believes that schools should reopen safely. He prioritized the life and death situation that this virus poses to the reopening of schools, and will not put our economy or the lives of students at risk. He also includes to increase the funds for Title I federal program funding for schools with a high percentage of low-income students and families, and will also increase the salary of educators.
Thank you, Governor. I want to move forward to our next question, because there are so many topics that I want to address with regards to this discussion, and I hope that's all right. This question goes to Lucas, and I wanted to ask you, last month, President Trump signed the Patriotic Education Plan to combat left-wing propaganda in schools. My question is, why is patriotism deemed as such a dirty word in the left? And why won't Joe Biden pledge to also do the same in terms of making sure that we don't spread propaganda or political propaganda within our schools? Lucas, you have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Well, I think most people have the premise of, okay, so there's a country that I'm supposed to love and back and stay behind on everything. But especially recently now, especially people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, people of color, they're not feeling like this is the America that, they should be living in and be treated, how they're being treated right now, especially. So I think people think it as like, okay, do I have to respect the flag that doesn't respect them back? You know what I mean? So that's obviously something that I think people agree with. People have told me specifically. And I have no really stance on really the Biden part. I think Devin does. So I'm going to switch it over to Devin.
And I just want to, before we get to Governor Wynn, I just want to ask perhaps the same question to Dylan, and that's, as a student at a United States public school, have you ever dealt with leftist propaganda in the classrooms? Do you support what the president is doing to stop this indoctrination, so to speak, in the classrooms? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've actually experienced leftist propaganda numerous times in my classes in middle school, and even I can recall in elementary school. I think I was like as young as third grade was when they were pushing it. So yes, I do support the bill that President Trump has signed, because if you don't want to hear the leftist propaganda in the public schools, then you have to go to a private school, and not everybody can afford that because usually they cost money. Not everybody can afford that, and you shouldn't have to afford to not hear stuff that you don't agree with. It should be free, and the school should be neutral in their stance.
Thank you, Dylan. Governor Silberman, I know you had a response. Would you like to respond?
Yes. Is it 30 seconds? Just clarify.
30 seconds, yes.
Okay. I think it's unfair to call it leftist propaganda and then to have it called like patriotism on the opposite side, because first of all, I think wanting to educate students of the entire history of the United States and not wanting to leave out parts that were wrong or that like killed many people, for example, that isn't like propaganda. It's telling the entire story and the entire history.
Okay. Governor Malo, do you have a response to that?
No.
All right. Governor, I'll let Governor Short go, and then I'll let...
What? Okay, all right, no worries.
Just because I want to balance the whole Trump Biden. Is that all right, Governor?
No, that's fine. I was just talking about
Governor Short, you have 30 seconds.
It in fact is propaganda. I've experienced it. When I was learning comprehensive sex ed, they were telling us that there are more than two genders, which in fact there are not, which is leftist propaganda. And I think it is great that President Trump wants to eliminate this. School should be a place where you learn to learn, not truthful things.
Thank you, Governor. I'd like to... Governor Wynn, would you like to respond? I'll give you 30 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll make it fast. So I just wanted to hit on the comment of the word patriotism. I dislike the use. It's not that people don't like the word of patriotism. I think it's linked to a lot of different laws and acts and orders. Congress does it when they're introducing a bill that included the privacy peering into the privacy of digital users such as iPhone and Android, and it was also used in the past. The word patriot is just linked to make Americans feel safe and linked to an issue.
Thank you, Governor. And I would like to move forward, if that's all right. My next topic is regards to vice presidential picks. There's a very historic nature about this election in the sense if Vice President Biden wins, he will be the oldest president ever elected. And same with President Trump. They will both each be the oldest president to ever be elected to the office. However, it is more historic on Vice President Biden in the sense that the first Asian American and the first woman of color will be elected vice president of the United States should the voters choose Joseph R. Biden and Kamala D. Harris to lead this country forward. My question goes to both Governor Silberman and Governor Short. You each have been on polar opposite ends when it comes to the issue of law enforcement. Governor Short, you authored a letter pleading Mayor Eric Garcetti and LA City Council President Nurio Martinez to keep funding of our police department. And in the same way, Governor Silberman has actually advocated for a substantial cut in the police force's budget. Governor Silberman, given your commitment to advancing the rights of minorities in criminal justice and in the criminal justice system, does it ever bother you in any way that Joe Biden chose a running mate who's tough on crime, who's a law enforcement officer, and who's kept Black men beyond their sentences in jail to use them as cheap labor in the state of California? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
In response to your question, defending of the police specifically, like that is redistributing the money instead of having everything on the police. It's allowing different, like more. It's allowing money to go to different resources such as mental health, which instead of having the police deal with that, they're allowing mental health resources and people who work in that field to deal with that. And then, sorry, what was your question again?
Does it bother you that Kamala D. Harris is a law enforcement officer with a proven track record of incarcerating Black males at far greater rates than others?
I'm sorry, I'm a little, was she
as the Attorney General and District Attorney of San Francisco?
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have enough information to make like a clear stance.
No worries. And I don't want to be unfair, but I just wanted to say that with regards to redistribution of police funds, that's what I understand of your policy. But that is a cut to police funding,
yes.
Right? Just yes or no. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't want to word that, any unfairly or more or better than any other. So I'll let the record show that it is a cut to police funding and a redistribution of those resources. Governor Silberman, yeah?
Sorry, it's like a cut, and then that cut is going to redistribute.
Right, but there's still money going out, and that's correct, right? All right, Governor Short, the second half of the question was actually directed to you. I want to ask you, Governor Short, have you ever considered moving to the other side of this debate stage, given the fact that Senator Harris has historically always backed the blue?
No, because they now want to defund the police. Well, she supports people who want to defund the police. Also, I'd like to say after the dismantle of the Violent Crime Department in Oregon, the violent crimes rose 262% in July of 2020, which is an insane rise in violent crimes. And defunding the police does not work for that specific example. Kamala Harris, she is a moderate, as the media portrays her, and she definitely has very left-leaning views on crime and justice and law enforcement.
Thank you, Governor Short. I want to ask a question to Dylan and Lucas, respectively. So I'll ask Dylan first. President Trump, by some organizations, has been referred to as, quote, the most pro-LGBTQ president in United States history, end quote, because he's fought against the AIDS epidemic. He came after anti-LGBTQ countries in the United Nations and sought their punishment. He appointed the first ever openly gay director of any national department. The list is endless. However, on the contrary, Vice President Pence has suggested that conversion therapy works. He's also supported bans of marriage equality. This inconsistency with regards to a very pro-LGBTQ president and a very anti-LGBTQ vice president, what does that inconsistency mean for LGBTQ youth in the United States today?
I think it could mean a lot of different things. I think it could mean that both work. Like you can be on Trump's side or you can be more so on Pence's side with the conversion therapy, because they both have pros to each one that I guess you could say work, like I said. And can you repeat the question again? Sorry, that last part.
What does this inconsistency, how does it affect LGBTQ youth in America today?
Yeah, so people could, the LGBTQ youth could also be more so pro-Trump, but not not with Pence. I forget the word that is, which could mean that more people, if they're registered to vote, they could possibly register to vote for Trump, but not. That didn't make any sense. Sorry, I'm not going to talk anymore.
All right, no worries about that. Mr. Robertson, I wanted to ask you with regards to an inconsistency on the Biden-Harris ticket. Lucas, Vice President Biden has made it a commitment of his to ban fossil fuels. That was a commitment he made at a rally of his earlier this year. Senator Harris told the American people at the last vice presidential debate, quote, "Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact," end quote. What is your personal understanding of the Biden-Harris plan on the environment?
Can I get like 20 seconds? My dogs are barking a lot.
No worries, no worries. Governor Wynn, would you like to make a response? You have 30 seconds.
Okay, in response to, what does fracking mean? Right?
No, with regards to either that question or the question that I had posed to.
Okay. I think that the climate, in terms of climate under Joe Biden, the economy will definitely benefit from Joe Biden's presidency. He promises to readmit the U.S. into the Paris Climate Agreement, which is supposed to cut emissions by, I think, mark me if I'm wrong, 20% every year, and cut down the degrees by 1.5 degrees Celsius each year. And in terms of fracking, he does not plan to ban fracking because that will result in the increase of unemployment, and that will not be good in terms of making the switch to green energy.
So is he pro-fracking or is he anti-fracking?
He's anti-fracking in the long run. I'd say he's in terms of the transition, he's more for a more stable transition so that we don't cut out fracking and then have a whole bunch of unemployed workers who used to work under oil companies and industries, but rather a transitional approach to green energy. So,
Governor Wynn, are you saying that Senator Harris's claim that Joe does not want to ban fracking was a falsehood?
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's true.
But just in the long term, he doesn't support it because of energy.
Climate change.
Mr. Robertson, did you have a comment with regards to that? I know the question was addressed to you. Would you like to speak?
Well, Devin is totally right about in the long run, because if you look at their climate plan in general, about, like going back to the Paris Accords, they obviously believe in climate change and how if we don't do anything now, then, it would be irreversible and we'll be kind of doomed in a sense. So in a way, yes, maybe now he has to think about, as a president, you have to think about everyone in the country. So he has to think about, like Devin said, all the people who are working, who are employed. You can't just cut fracking out the first day of office and then all these people are just unemployed. So, and also, yeah.
All right, Governor Silberman, did you have a response?
I had a response to the question about LGBTQ youth.
Mm-hmm.
So can you go back?
I'm sorry?
Is that okay if I can answer that?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Trump has shown on multiple accords his lack of support for LGBTQ people. He refused to support the Equality Act, which would ensure that that existing civil rights protection covers.
Is this a response to the question about how the inconsistency affects LGBTQ? I'm trying to understand, what is this a response to?
Yeah, it's a response to the inconsistency. But like, it's like the lack. There isn't exactly an inconsistency. I'm trying to say that.
Okay. All right. I'll let you finish, but I just want to remind you that you're not debating me, that you are debating the question that was posed, which was what the inconsistency is. And I didn't present that as a fact. That was just simply so many organizations has called President Trump the most pro-LGBTQ president in the United States history. So I'll give you a minute with regards to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want me? Okay.
Uh-huh.
His refusal to support the Equality Act, which would ensure that existing civil rights protections cover sexual orientation and gender identity in ways that they do for race, disability, and veteran status. He also denied healthcare for trans youth and trans people, and protection and job protection for LGBTQ people. And this is from the source is called Them. It's like an LGBTQ like website.
Okay. Governor Short, would you like to respond to that? I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, first off, I want to say President Trump protects the 2014 executive order that protects employees from anti-LGBT discrimination. And also, Kamala Harris supports the Green New Deal because she was co-sponsoring it from Bernie Sanders. And the Green New Deal costs 51 to 93 billion or trillion. And also, we have lower carbon emissions than some countries in the Paris Climate Accordance. Yet it costs America tons of money to be in it. So what is the purpose?
I'll move forward with regards to the next question. I want to keep this quick just so we can get to closing statements on time. Governor Wynne, my next question goes to you. At the debate, the vice presidential debate on Wednesday, Vice President Pence said, quote, "I'm pro-life and I don't apologize for it," end quote. On the contrary, Senator Harris believes in unrestricted abortions. That's a promise she had made during the campaign trail when she was running for the presidential nomination. At the first presidential debate, Vice President Biden famously pointed out that, quote, "Roe v. Wade is on the ballot," end quote, to which the president responded, quote, "You don't know that," end quote. With Governor Wynne, do you think Roe v. Wade is on the ballot?
Sorry, can I have a definition of Roe v. Wade?
The landmark Supreme Court case that effectively legalized elective abortion.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I knew that. No. Yeah. I think this is my stance. I personally don't have a stance on abortion, so I'm not going to argue Joe Biden's stance because I don't personally align with either side. Sorry.
On the ballot, yeah. You have a minute.
Wait, your question is if it should be on the ballot?
No, is it on the ballot? Does the president, with regards to the consequences of this election, could one of the consequences of whomever voters nominate, could an overturn of Roe v. Wade potentially happen with any administration that we elect in November?
Oh, okay. I do believe that it could be overturned in a, let's see. I'm sorry. I don't have a stance like completely. I'm not prepared for this question.
No worries. Alexandra, is Roe v. Wade on the ballot?
Yes, because Amy Coney Barrett, which is Donald Trump's, who he selected for the nominee for the Supreme Court, she is profoundly pro-life, and that will definitely influence that.
And with regards to, since we've kind of opened this whole shell, so to speak, of abortion and fetal rights and abortion rights, Governor Silberman, why should voters choose the pro-choice candidate, so to speak? You have 1 minute.
They should choose pro-choice candidates because giving women the option if they want to have an abortion or not is the woman's choice. Having lawmakers, especially male lawmakers, make that choice for them is unfair and should not happen.
Well, with regards to, if I could just illuminate, or not illuminate, but shed back into the light, Governor Short's point, which was that the president had nominated a female. Do you think it's still wrong when women choose to vote against fetal, or rather choose to vote against abortion rights?
I think if they personally don't want to have an abortion, like if people don't want to, if women don't want to have an abortion, then they don't have to have an abortion. Like no one's forcing you to have an abortion. But if someone does want to have an abortion, they should be able to.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Nguyen, I'll allow you 30 seconds. Governor, I think you're muted.
Sorry. I just wanted to eliminate on the
30 seconds.
I just wanted to eliminate on the fact that Amy Coney Barrett is an extreme conservative, religious conservative, might I note. And I think not only is it women's right, is she intriguing on women's rights, but she is also implementing her views from. I think she will also implement her views from a religious standpoint, which is against the First Amendment constitutionally, the right to freedom of religion. And I think that will be unfair for the American people to have their choice to choose based off of a religious decision.
Governor Nguyen, didn't you just say the First Amendment is the freedom of religion? Why would practicing your religion be against freedom of religion?
Using her religion to influence her decision to determine Roe v. Wade.
Okay. I think I understand your point. And one of the things I want to ask is, I'm going to ask this question to Governor Short, and that's healthcare. This next round is with regards to how each candidate will affect students across the state of California. Governor Short, with regards to healthcare, thousands of children in our state, thousands of children that you represent as a member of the Board of Governors, have pre-existing conditions like asthma, and their families may also have pre-existing. Governor Short, are you?
You cut out. I didn't hear the question.
I'm sorry about that. With Governor Short, with regards to healthcare, thousands of children in this state, many of whom you represent as a member of the Board of Governors, have pre-existing conditions like asthma. In addition, many of their families may have pre-existing conditions like heart disease or breast cancer or diabetes, which actually in the vice presidential debate, Senator Kamala Harris had said the Trump administration is coming for you, referring to the those with pre-existing conditions. Is your candidate coming after people with pre-existing conditions? You have one.
Not at all. No, he has said multiple times that he will protect people with pre-existing conditions. Also, I'd like to go back to the abortion topic real quick. Is it a woman's right to kill her baby who can feel pain and is potentially a female? Is that a woman's right to kill her female baby or male baby, but specifically female, in saying that it's a woman's right? She does not have a right to live then, when you're taking away her right to live.
Governor Short, I know that Governor Silberman, I know that Governor Short was directly pointing to your claim. Do you want to have 30 seconds to respond to that?
I think Lucas wanted to respond, and since he hasn't talked too much, I think it'd be nice.
All right, Lucas, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I was just gonna say, to have a stance saying that other women, controlling other women to have their choice of freedom to be able to do something that's obviously something they're proud to do, and it's also there's certain circumstances that you're kind of taking, not looking at, assault victims and stuff like that. To carry a child like that would be much worse than to kill their baby, which I'm not going to get into, but, just had to say that.
All right. I have one final question with regards to this topic, and it goes to Lucas, actually. Lucas, and I'll also ask Dylan if she'd like to respond right after that. What future career are you thinking of pursuing, and how is your candidate making it easier to pursue the American dream?
Well, my dream personally is to become a surgeon. I want to be working Medicare, and depending on our president, it's going to set my future. Obviously understands on race and sexuality and being fair to people. I am a person of color. I'm mixed. My family, grandma's an immigrant. My dad's from the Philippines. So being able to go to college, obviously I passed, right? But being able to grow up with my friends and be able to pursue our dreams is a great thing. And having a president to support us as well, to support the people who, are not just the cis white, group of people. So being able to have a president that will support me, especially as a kid, especially now, protecting me now during this time, will help me be able to, pursue my career in the future, especially in Medicare as well, because obviously you have to be open and being respectful to anyone who comes in and refuse to service, depending on their identity.
Thank you, Lucas. I appreciate that. And I would imagine for our viewers that is inspiring. Ms. Del Rosario, I wanted to ask you, Dylan, what future career do you intend on pursuing, and how is your candidate making it easier to achieve the American dream?
It's kind of funny because I want to be a trauma surgeon, so kind of along the same lines as Lucas. But I believe that the current candidate, like basically a president that just believes that in the American dream that you can do it if you live in America, pretty much. That probably doesn't make very much sense. But and I want to go back to what Lucas said about having a doctor that is that is not racist. And I don't think that is on the government. I think that is on the person, and or is on the school that you go to. That's the person, and that's not something that the president should choose, because the president can't not make you racist or anything along those lines, because that's a choice for you. And I'm not saying it's right, because it's not. But yeah, and like I'm also a person of color as well. I'm half Indigenous, half Latino. So it's like I basically agree with what Lucas said too.
Thank you. And all right, so we're, I thought it was rather interesting, and I appreciate the fact that both of you had a similar career that you choose to pursue. I have one more question, and everyone's gonna answer it, and then we'll move on to closing statements. Does that sound good, everybody? All right, my last question, everyone will have 1 minute to respond, and it's simply this. Let me be clear to the viewers today. All of these questions were my own. I wrote them. I personally did the research behind them. I take full responsibility for all these questions, and none of the participants of this debate ever had access whatsoever to the questions that I were going to ask today. However, this next question is not from me. It is from a suggestion that I received in my inbox earlier this morning. Robin from Torrance asks, despite all of the negativity that is happening within the political process, and the demeaning of certain candidates and their lives and what they do, it's created a toxic environment for young people, for old people, for all types of people in America today. Robin from Torrance challenges each and every one of you to name one good thing about the opposing candidate, and I'll start with you, Governor Short.
I would say that Joe Biden has exhibited compassion or empathy. Definitely, I feel like when he was at the debate, he was speaking directly to the Americans and saying that he feels for you and during the rough times of COVID, etc.
All right, Governor Silberman.
I think that Trump is like his willingness and like passion for like lowering taxes for American citizens is what's the word? I'm forgetting the word. Had a word. It's nice, essentially. Yeah.
Assistant President Nguyen.
I'd like to say the one benefit out of Trump's entire term in office is that he's opened up the door for us young leaders to talk about these things and have and I know that for a fact that he's inspired my political investment in this world, and I wouldn't have been invested in here or concerned about these issues if it wasn't for Trump.
Governor Mallow.
I feel that during the debate, Biden was he was much calmer in his demeanor with Trump, and he wasn't as disrespectful and always trying to constantly interrupt, and I think that was a good thing.
Dylan?
Yeah, during the debate, Biden, he was very well spoken and he knew what he was talking about, and I liked how he wanted to get his point across right away with what he was saying.
Thank you. And finally, Lucas.
I just like to like the other party, how they support small businesses and therefore, keeping them afloat, especially during hard times like this. And I think that's really great.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that everyone had a very insightful comment to the opposing side. Now, everyone, as I had promised, will get 1 minute to make a closing statement, and I will do it in seniority order of the Board of Governors. Assistant President Nguyen, would you like to go first?
Yes, I just want so it's just like I said, during the past few months of our country, it's been a very dark time for our country. We've been swept in pandemic, 213,000 Americans dead, and no sign of an end in sight or a vaccine. I just wanted to say that our country is on its knees at this moment, in dire need for a leader to put it back onto its feet. And I believe that it is the American duty to get together and vote. And I believe that it's every American's duty and investment to, I don't care who you choose, or I don't care who you're voting for, but to do the research and choose a candidate who you support and you believe will be best for this country, because the country, like I said, is on its knees and it needs your voice and your opinion. And we are the determination of this country's fate. So I believe that everyone should get out there, everyone should vote, everyone should do the research. And I'd like to conclude.
Thank you, Governor Nguyen. Governor Silverman?
Similarly to what Governor Nguyen was saying, everyone, I encourage everyone to vote, especially if you are able to, because we as students, or we as all of us are sophomores, don't have the ability to vote. But yeah, do your part as an American citizen and do your.
Thank you, Governor Silverman. Governor Shore?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all of you for engaging in a civil discussion with me. It's really nice to hear what you guys have to think about everything, and it's nice to bounce back off of each other's ideas. So yeah, just I encourage everyone to think for themselves and not have the media or your family member, or your friend, etc. think for you. You need to do your own research and just push past everything, and because you are the future of our country.
Governor Mala?
I was really glad to hear everyone say their side of their views of the different candidates, and it was very insightful to hear from the other side and from my own side. And I just encourage everyone to, like Governor Nguyen said, to research and to not just go by the norm of what everyone else is saying, but also dig deeper into what the candidates have done in their political careers and not just what they look like and say on the outside.
Thank you, Governor Malo. Dylan, for your closing statement?
I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk. I thought it was very interesting listening to both sides, and I thought that you guys is good in having a civil discussion, and yeah.
Thank you. And finally, Lucas.
I had a great time exploring different contrasting opinions to my own, and being open to hear it from the other side, and also to the people who can vote. I would just say to break the party barrier and not just think about it from a party perspective, but from a personal perspective. And like everyone said here, do your research and really look at what the candidates for you and how they'll affect your future, your loved one's future, and make sure you're making a good choice.
Well, you heard it, viewers. Everyone, especially young people in this generation, are asking you to go vote. On October 5th, virtually every Californian received a mail-in ballot pursuant to the California Secretary of State and the Governor of the State of California. It's important that you mail out that ballot and mail it out early to preserve the security and integrity of your ballot. I want to thank everyone who made this discussion possible. To Dylan and to Lucas, and to their families, thank you so much for participating in this wonderful discussion. To the members of the Board of Governors, thank you for your hard work in making sure that this is possible. But now it's time to let voters decide who should serve as America's Commander-in-Chief. You've heard high school sophomores weigh in. Now it's time to get out the vote and make sure to engage in our democracy, the very idea of free speech and the idea that the very principles that are enshrined within our Constitution that allow us to debate our disagreements accordingly without fear of reprisal, without fear of harm, without fear of danger, but instead to listen to each other and rise to the challenge of volunteerism in service when we can. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please make sure to consider making a contribution to the Young Leaders Political Action Committee. Go to www.youngleaderscommittee.com to learn more about our cause. The Young Leaders Political Action Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Young Leaders Political Action Committee, FPPC ID 1406303, at charitable donation expense. Thank you.